Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Swarm podcast, the BW football podcast. My name is Matt Florjancic, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes as we talk all things Yellow Jacket football. We'll take a look back at the previous week's win over the Wilmington Quakers. We'll preview this week's matchup against the Capital Comets, and then we will end the show with a look ahead at all the Yellow Jacket sporting events in and around campus and on the road for all of the fall sports teams. We'll also catch up with head coach Jim Hilvert, star linebacker Nolan Hartsel, and a sophomore quarterback Charlie Bubonics. And Bubonics comes in after a career day, completing 24 of 30 passes for 302 yards and 4 touchdowns. The yards and touchdowns were both single-game career highs for the Solid native. Right now, we're going to send it to the interview with Charlie Bubonics. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Swarm Podcast. Matt Florjancic, now joined by the starting quarterback for the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jackets, Charlie Bubonics. Charlie, thank you very much for joining us here on the podcast. We greatly appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. It's a great time.
Charlie, first and foremost, you're now entrenched as the starter for the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jackets. How is this opportunity treating you? How are things going for you?
It's been great so far. We started off 2-0, thanks to a great supporting cast of our O-line, receivers and running backs, tight ends doing a great job, and really helping me settle in with the coaching staff, and everybody around me helped me. So it's been good so far.
Well, congratulations are in order. After your second start this season, you were named OAC Offensive Player of the Week. You threw for 4 touchdowns over the weekend in the 42-7 win over Wilmington. What was clicking for you guys offensively, specifically when it comes to that second half?
Our receivers do a great job of making plays whenever the chance comes to them, and they block well, and obviously O-line giving me time, open up the run game with Lindberger and Singleton. It's just easy for us to get stuff rolling when you can click in the run game and the pass game. So
you seem to have a lot of talent around you, and I'm not taking anything away from previous years or anything, but from a wide receiver perspective, I think this is as deep of a team as I've seen out of a Baldwin-Wallace football squad in quite a long time. Let's give you a chance to talk about and brag about your wide receivers and just what they're able to do. You get Vinny LeMayo, you get Mikel Love, you get Tim Conwell, Connor Awad, and then you get a transfer in Oliver Kelleher. You almost have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver, so that's a good problem for you to have.
Yeah, I love the opportunity to talk about these guys. I'll start with Oliver, coming in, immediately making his present zone, being a leader in the summer, in camp. He has come in and made a definite impact. Vinny LeMayo, great leader on our team, and he just does a great job on the field and off the field being a leader and being a great player, making plays for us. Awad, Timmy Conwell, Mikel, our young guys, Shondell, Colin Quinlan, they just do a great job blocking, making plays when the time comes, and just being guys that no matter who's on the field, because we have so much depth, are into the game and ready to make a play whenever time comes.
How much does their experience collectively, because you've got quite a few juniors and seniors in that group and one grad student in Oliver Kelleher, how much does that help a young quarterback like yourself that's still trying to figure things out as a starter in this league?
It definitely takes the pressure off when I can trust those guys to win the one-on-one play or to make the right read and get open and get 10 yards after when I had to throw a little bubble or a quick hitch. It definitely makes everything easier because a lot of those behind the line of scrimmage passes that they do all the work on open up everything for our offense, and they kind of make that huge impact in that way.
What does it do for you confidence-wise when you have guys like Oliver Kelleher who have been around this league for a long time, previously at Heidelberg? In the Wittenberg game, you throw a pass, you put it right where it needs to be for him to catch it, he drops it, and then he actually credits you for keeping his head in a positive space for then him to go out and catch 2 touchdowns later in the game. What does that do for your confidence level in terms of your ability to lead this team?
Yeah, just having that relationship with all our players where you're going to mess up, you're going to make a mistake. They'll pick me up if I make a bad throw an interception like I did against Wittenberg. Receivers, O-line, all saying, keep your head up, you're good, man. It kind of just builds on our team, our trust, our accountability, and what we can do just moving forward without setbacks of pointing fingers or nothing like that. So it's pretty great to have that environment around me.
You came from a really historically good program, the Solon Comets. I mean, they've been mainstays in playoff runs for decades now across Northeast Ohio. Then you come into a program like Baldwin-Wallace that has a pretty good tradition as well. What did you learn before you took over the starting job about how important football was here at Baldwin-Wallace, and how were you able to now turn that into action?
Yeah, I was blessed to come from Solon, where football was such a rich tradition, and just being around it my whole life. But coming into BW, you feel the same environment of how much it means to every coach, every player, every alumni that showed up for us at the Windberg game. Everybody on this campus really just puts so much focus on how this football team plays and how our athletics do that it kind of just enriches the tradition and means more here, you know.
And you don't mean that in a negative way, obviously. You mean that in a positive way. Like, they don't put undue pressure on you. They want to actually, they put it on in terms of their support. They actually want to see you do well.
Yeah, there's nothing but 100% support. Bree is a football town, and they show out that way.
Clearly, I mean, you've got a professional team right down the road. So, I mean, just how much fun have you had over these first 2 weeks?
A blast. I mean, coming into the camp and coming through these next 2 weeks, I've felt more of a team presence than I've had on any team. And just the guys around us are just doing a great job, being good leaders, good teammates, and it's been a great time. Yeah.
Have the expectations been exceeded by the actual experience of you now taking over the offense and having the success that you've had so far?
We didn't have much expectation I started one game last year, and then coming into it with a whole new season, there wasn't a high expectation. But the offense has definitely, I think, done some good things, but we can definitely build upon what we've done. So our expectation for ourselves is definitely higher, but we need to exceed any expectation that anybody set for us, even ourselves.
So taking a look back again at last week against Wilmington, Coach mentioned that you had some adversity in the first half. There, not just you, but as a team, there were some clock issues that had to be worked out and everything. How did you stay positive throughout all that to then come out and have the second half that you did?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have our setbacks, 2 or 3 drives that we hit a lull or turnover. But it's really important that our whole team just keeps their head up, and I love how our team is building off each other during the game. You're good, man. You got the next play and everything. So it's really easy for us to bounce back from those lulls or anything that stops our progress, because we just have guys that are ready to go at all times and ready to bounce back from any adversity that happens.
It's still early in the week. You have a few more days before you head down I-71 once again, this time to play the Capital Comets. But what have you seen in the film sessions that you've had, that you're expecting out of the Capital defense?
Not much we've seen that we're ready to go. We've only seen one game of film on them, but we're ready to go, ready to play some good football down in Columbus. But yeah, that's all we can do.
Do you really embrace the opportunity to take this team on the road and kind of lead them into hostile territory and then show what you can do?
Yeah, I love going on the road as much as you love playing at home. There's no feeling like getting off the bus, ready to mash some heads and go get a win.
What is it about that team mentality, the bunker mentality of like you against the world? I mean, you hear it so often, but can you put it into words what it means to you and your teammates?
Yeah, our coaches say it, everybody says it. It's all about us. The 130 guys on our team, the 50 guys on offense, 11 guys on the field. It's us versus the world, us versus any team that steps on our way. So we kind of embrace that a lot here, that it's not about the team that we're lining up against. It's every week it's about us. Every day it's about us.
Awesome. Well, Charlie, congratulations again on the OAC Offensive Player of the Week honors. It's well deserved. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us today, and we look forward to seeing what the rest of the season holds for you, especially come Saturday against Capital.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
We'll be right back on the Swarm Podcast. I'd like to thank Charlie once again for taking the time and talking with us earlier today. Now we're going to send it over to our interview with linebacker Nolan Hartsel of the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jackets Dark Side Defense. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Swarm Podcast. Matt Florjancic now joined by sophomore linebacker for the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jackets, Nolan Hartsel. Nolan, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us today about Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jacket football.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Matt.
Nolan, taking a look at what you've been able to accomplish over the first 2 weeks of the season as a team, and you give up 14 against Wittenberg, and then you go on the road, a long road trip to Wilmington, and you give up only 7 points. I mean, what's been the recipe for success for the defense over the first 2 weeks of the year?
I think for us as a defense, we're playing together, we're playing fast, we're swarming with the ball. Everybody's really bought in. I think we're playing our heart out, and we're playing for each other. I think that's the best.
I know it's still early in the season, but how much fun has it been to play on this defense and have the success that you had, only 21 points given up over 2 weeks?
It's been great. I mean, opening up with Wittenberg, rivalry game, and only giving up 14 and winning that game, it was huge. And then going down to Wilmington and basically laying the smackdown on them was it's always fun to play in a blowout game.
Yeah, when you look at what the offense was able to do and then you compliment it with a great performance, they score 42, you give up 7. I mean, that's really as complimentary as you're going to get without putting up a shutout.
Exactly, yeah. Our offense, they were able to run the ball. Linemen were creating holes. Charlie was throwing the rock, getting all the receivers involved. It was great.
In talking to some of the defensive linemen over the last 2 weeks, the thing that they mentioned difference between last year and this year is experience, specifically on the back end of the defense, on the secondary, but in the linebacking core too. I mean, you lost some guys to graduation, but you've been able to step in and fill those opportunities with some very sound productivity. I mean, how much different is this defense from last year to this year in terms of experience and confidence?
Experience, we're by far way more experienced than we were last year. I mean, in terms of depth and playing time the guys have had, it's night and day compared to last year. And that just makes us more confident because we know even if we have our twos in, we're still going to be able to play ball to a super high level, and we're not going to be worried about it.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed is just the ability to rush the passer more because that back end of the defense is playing so solid. From your perspective as a linebacker, what does it do when the secondary is playing confidently and delivering plays? How does that affect what you can do as a linebacker?
It really allows us to take some chances and break on some balls that, maybe we're just hoping to get a hand on it, but we're just breaking on it. And even if we're blitzing, we have the confidence to know that our guys in the back end are going to cover up even if we're playing man, and we're going to get home on those blitzes.
And from your perspective, what's it like to play behind a defensive line that has guys like Caden Viancourt, Jordan Smith, Hasim Rashid on the ends, and then R.J. Pegues in the middle? I mean, it just seems like guy after guy after guy, you can just rotate in there and they're being productive. How does that affect what you're able to do, and how nice is it to have guys in front of you that can do that?
It makes our job so much easier in the run game because they're able to occupy their guy plus another because they're going to have to double team somebody. And then we're able to go downhill and fill those gaps, and it makes our job way easier.
One of the things in talking with Coach Hilvert throughout these first few weeks of the season is that when he talks about you, his eyes just kind of light up because the first thing he says is he just loves football. He lives to play football and loves to play football. Where does that love for football come from?
A very young age, from basically my dad when I started playing flag football when I was 5 years old in kindergarten, and then begging him to put me in pads in third grade, and basically just playing my entire life is how I've grown to love it.
And was it always a passion for you? Did you always know that you wanted to play at this level to get to the college ranks?
Yeah, basically since middle school. I mean, I thought I was a pretty decent player. I knew that I wanted something more, and college football was that something more.
Let's talk about your career development, because you mentioned you started at a young age playing flag, then you got into pads at an early age, and then you go to Northwestern High School, home of the Huskies, and you get to have an opportunity to play there for a prolonged period of time. What was that experience like for you to play at Northwestern, and how did it get you ready for what you have here at Baldwin-Wallace?
In terms of high school, really playing with a team and being close with those guys on that team, because we were a small school. Everybody really gelled together. Everybody was best friends. And that grew my love even more, because my senior year we were winning games. We were excited about the season. We were all close. And basically that grew my love for it even more.
Looking at what you had at high school, you mentioned you were a small, close-knit community, and that kind of bled its way onto the team. I mean, do you feel the same kind of way here in terms of the community aspect and the close bond that you have as a team?
Yeah, I do. I love the community here. I mean, when we do the jacket walk, walking across Bagley, and seeing those fans tailgating for a small little D3 school, it's great. And then in the locker room, all of our guys are close. We're all cutting it up in the locker room, chit-chatting, guys playing Xbox together, watching college football, doing everything together.
How much easier does that make your job on Saturdays to have that kind of camaraderie in the locker room?
It makes it way easier, because I can trust the guys I'm playing with, because I know them, and I know them personally, and I know that they're going to do a good job, and they count on me to do a good job.
So you start the year 2-0. You're having an outstanding start to this year. You go down to Capitol to play the Comets on Saturday afternoon. What have you seen on film about them, and what kind of challenges are they going to throw at you?
I think it's going to be another difficult work week. We're going to have to come into practice prepared. There's no easy game in the OAC, and really it's all about us. We need to do our own thing, and if we do that, we're going to come out on top.
Well, Nolan, thank you very much for taking the time and talking with us today here on the Swarm Podcast. I greatly appreciate your time, and I wish you the best of luck with this next opportunity coming up against Capitol.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Nolan Hartsel, star linebacker for the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jacket defense. We'll be back with more on the Swarm Podcast in just a moment. Our thanks go out to Nolan Hartsel, one of the leading tacklers for the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jackets through the first 2 weeks of the season. Now that we've had a chance to hear from the players, let's hear for the man that calls the shots from the sidelines, head coach Jim Hilvert. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Swarm Podcast. Matt Florjancic now joined by the head coach of the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jackets, Coach Jim Hilvert. Coach, another week and another win. This one a 42-7 decision over Wilmington, your first true road test of the year. How do you think it went?
I thought things went well. I thought we, despite some of the adversity we were facing in the first half with the clock and all that other crazy stuff, I thought our kids handled themselves well, kept playing. I thought in all three phases, I thought we played complementary football. Defensively, we played really, really well. And I thought Charlie Bubonics in the offensive line, receivers, did an unbelievable job. It was a full team effort to get that W. We had 570 yards of total offense. Our defense held them to 219. And did some, I said, really good things as a football program.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. A little bit of a rocky start in that first half. A lot of situations outside of your control that you have to deal with.
Right. It was. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you, with the time operator and all the things that were going on. But obviously that's something you have to deal with. We talk about it all the time. You can't flinch when you face some adversity. And we didn't. Kids, I said, came out the second half and put up 28 points. The whole receiving corps, from Vinny LeMayo to Timmy Conwell, Connor Awald, Connor Quinlan, all those guys, just the whole Mikael Love, they did an unbelievable job of blocking for each other on the perimeter, Charlie did a great job delivering the ball. He was 80% completion rate. And then we ran the ball. Offensive line imposed their will the second half. George had 101 yards. Tyrone Singleton had a really good game too. I think he had about almost 60 yards rushing. But we just played complementary football, and guys were playing for each other, which really goes a long way with winning football games.
This was really the first opportunity we've gotten to see Charlie have to drop back and pass, not out of necessity, but just out of opportunity. And boy, did he make a statement, throwing for multiple touchdowns. And earlier this week, he was honored with the Offensive Player of the Week award. Not too bad in your second career start.
Yeah, definitely got Offensive Player of the Week in the OAC, and obviously Offensive Player of the Week for us, threw 4 touchdowns, but just was on target. And, it says something, too, of obviously the first game, his third game starting, where he came from, and did a really, really good job. I was really proud of him, how he answered the bell this past week. And receiving core made some great catches. Ollie had another really good game. My man LeMayo had a great catch in the end zone. Just guys overall, everybody did some real good stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to see when you have success, but when you see the amount of players who contribute to that success, that's got to be even more so gratifying for you as a coach, because you're like, okay, from a defensive standpoint, if people try to attack us here, and here, well, we can just go here, and here to counter it. I mean, it's really kind of a nice chess match when you have those kind of pieces on the board.
That's what obviously fired me up as a coach and got me excited, is that we had so many people contribute this week. And you said it. And he obviously, even Xavier Bolson, he came in at the end of the game, jumped over a guy, and then he proceeds to run, I think, like a 70-yard touchdown. Just everybody did a great job of contributing to the team. Defensively, Nolan Hartsel was Defensive Player of the Week and Special Teams Player of the Week. Another guy that did a great job for us. Just loves the great game of football and played really, really well. And I think, like I said, defensively, as a team, we call ourselves the dark side defense. They really played hard. We need to keep building on this going into the Capital Week.
Yeah, so let's switch gears from the offense to the defense and talking about what you were able to accomplish against Wilmington. I mean, 7 points on the road. I don't care who you're playing in this conference. That's quite the feather in your cap. You're doing some things right.
And obviously for us, I know we're not satisfied with the 7, but obviously it happens. It's college football. They practice too. But we did. We played some good defense. We need to keep building on what we did. We've obviously faced Capital this week. And obviously we know they got a good quarterback with some good receivers and a good football program. We got to be ready to go on the road again, down in Columbus, and be ready to play. And I think our guys have some pride on the defense side ball, offense side ball, and special teams that we need to keep getting better. And this is a big week for us.
Do you like the mindset of where the team is at right now in terms of kind of taking it on their own to step up and make plays? Like, your messages are starting to get through to your senior leaders, and even your juniors, guys like Hasim Rashid, are going out there and they're putting into action the words that you talk about every day in practice.
It's funny you brought that up, Matt. We talked about this last week with my leadership council and guys. This team is, I think, a close-knit group. I think they get along really well. I think they truly care about each other. They definitely care about their teammate. It's definitely a we over me type attitude we have on this team. It's neat to see that. It's neat to see how much these guys truly do care about each other, care about the coaches and all that stuff through the support staff. And now it's time to run with it, and to keep building on that. And as a coach, I'm really proud to see that because every year is different. And you can feel that within our team this year.
In talking to Jordan and Hasim over the last couple of weeks, they mentioned that last year's defense was a little on the younger side, especially on the back end. How are those guys that are now returning and some of the guys that have been added to the secondary starting to progress? Are they doing
it's funny you said that. I think now we finally got Kyle Lungenbrunner back, which is great to have him back, with TJ Gibbons, Steely, those guys with Marquis Vereen, Kyle Kaufman, our new freshman Malik Duffy, BK. Everybody's contributing in some way, some fashion. Tyree Mitchell, which is nice to see. And those young guys have grown up a lot from last year to this year.
Yeah, and that complements what you're able to do up front. When you're starting to put together things on the back end, that makes the job of the pass rush a lot easier, and now they can get loose and do what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, as a coach, so you're able to feel comfortable calling blitzes and doing different things because, on the back end, those guys are going to do their job. And, as we took our lumps last year with some of the young guys we had, but I thought we've grown from that. We knew we had some talented guys back there. You're playing young guys. You're going to have some mistakes. And now I think we've grown a lot from last year.
Let's talk about the linebackers for a second, specifically Jonathan Dixon. He's a guy that kind of sticks out for all the right reasons. I mean, he just seems to have a nose for the football, and that's kind of what you need out of a linebacker.
Jonathan's a smart football player, and he is a very intelligent football player. He loves the game. He gets us in all the right calls and all the right sets that we need to be. He's the quarterback of the defense, and guys have fed off of that and to see what he has done, and now they're trying to do the same thing. But we're lucky to have him. He really does a great job of quarterbacking the defense and making sure our defense is lined up correctly.
And taking a look now at what you have in front of you, you have the Capital Comets on the road, another road test. What have you seen out of Capital in terms of your film study, and where are they going to most challenge your defense?
Yeah, it starts with their quarterback. Owens, he's a good football player, and then I would say Yowder's the receiver, number 13. He's another good player. Their running back, 4 and 14 are probably 2 guys that are good football players. And number 80, those guys they're skilled guys that are good football players. And then for us, we got to make sure we, on the line of scrimmage, do our job. We got to make sure we stop the run and make sure we have them become one-dimensional and then try to get after the quarterback. But he's a good football player. He's obviously older, senior. He does a great job of directing our offense.
One of the things that I've noticed in watching the first 2 games is that defensive line play has been really a cornerstone for your team in terms of bottling up the run, at least for most of the game against Wittenberg, and then you shut down Wilmington as well. I mean, just how good are those front 4 guys? And really, I shouldn't say just the front 4 because it's the rotation too that's really stepping in and doing some good things for you.
I'm really proud of those guys. Obviously, I'm obviously me and Coach Peters and Coach Fox coaching with those guys. They've done a really good job of coaching them up. But my kids, from Jordan Smith, Hasim, to J.D. Krause, Caden Van Court, to the 3 guys inside, Bryce Sanders, Judah, Tompkin Hopkins, and now we're getting Pegues back. I'm really excited. And obviously we have some young guys I'm excited about stuff, but those guys, the core of our defensive line, are very selective of coaching, and they keep getting better, and that's what we'll need.
How key is the depth up front? I mean, you mentioned getting R.J. Pegues back in the middle, and he's a load and a half to deal with in between for the guards in the center. But, I mean, just depth-wise, you can just keep rolling guys in and out, and that's a good thing.
Especially like on a day on Saturday, it was hot.
Yeah.
So to be able to rotate those guys and keep them fresh and keep them going after the quarterback, it is very much a big deal. Keep them running from sideline to sideline, and have Pegues back this week is definitely going to add another dimension.
How nice is it to see them celebrate each other but still be competitive with each other?
Oh, it's awesome.
One-upsmanship.
Then complimenting each other and celebrating somebody making a sack or a tackle for a loss, but also being competitive. Like I want to get more reps. It's awesome. And I think when you're able to do that, it breeds really good football players, really good teams. And I think that does a great job. And
before we get on here, I know we talked about Charlie a little bit. Let's talk about Nolan Hartsel a little bit too. Let's give you a chance to brag on him. I mean, what does he do for the team?
Nolan Hartsel's a sophomore. He's part of our young guys we brought in last year, that sophomore class. He's a great kid. He loves football. He plays 100 miles an hour, soaks all the knowledge in, and he is thriving, and he keeps getting better every week. It's fun to watch him play.
Well, Coach, it's been fun to watch the first 2 weeks. I look forward to seeing what you can do against Capital this week. Best of luck, safe travels, and we'll talk to you again next week, hopefully after another win.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Our thanks again go out to head coach Jim Hilvert for taking the time and talking with us earlier in the week. And now we're going to take a look at the weekend ahead. On Saturday, it's a busy day across all athletic teams as the men's tennis team will play in the ITA Central Regional Championship at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. The women's and men's cross-country teams will be at the John McNichols Invitational, hosted by Indiana State University in Terre Haute. The women's volleyball team will compete in the second and final day of the Albion Invitational. They'll get things started at noon with a matchup against the UAA's University of Chicago. The women's tennis team will be hosting Westminster. The football team, again, will play at Capital University. at 1:30 p.m. The women's golf team will be at the Midwest Region Classic at Benedictine University in Wisconsin. The women's volleyball team will close out their weekend against Manchester in the final game of the Albion Invitational at roughly 2:30 p.m. And the men's soccer team head down I-71 to the College of Worcester to play the Fighting Scots at 4 p.m. So another busy slate for the Yellow Jackets across all sports, and we wish them all a very good luck as they look to bring home victories to Berea. Thanks once again to our guests, quarterback Charlie Bubonics, linebacker Nolan Hartsel, and head coach Jim Hilvert of the Baldwin-Wallace Yellow Jacket football team. For everybody at Baldwin-Wallace, my name is Matt Florjancic saying thanks for listening to The Swarm, a BW football podcast. Have a great night, everybody, and as always, go Jackets!